Hello dear colleagues, my name is Margaret and today I'd like to present our report which discusses methodological approaches to determining and modeling themes of literary works and also deals with some technical difficulties arising in the process of the collection of this kind of data. Since we don't have much time, I'll elaborate only on a few aspects regarding this question. Okay, let us begin. As we know, a significant part of modern technologies associated with the development of artificial intelligence systems and digital analytics relies on the methods of computer text processing. However, these methods are mainly applied to specialized texts such as scientific literature, for example. Fiction texts are, on the other hand, usually left out of the focus of natural language processing practitioners. The reason for that lies in the assumption that the fictional world seems to be of less significance or less information value from a practical point of view. However, the influence of literature both on the consciousness of individuals and on the formation of social values can hardly be overestimated. Besides, as we think making computers understand fiction in a similar way as humans do, would be a real challenge for artificial intelligence. In our article, we put forward the idea of modeling thematic areas of literature on a national scale. It will allow a better understanding of the cultural traits of a national consciousness in a given historical period, and also contribute to either literary studies or practical tasks. But firstly, let us consider some theoretical background which regards the question of modeling thematic domains of a national literature. First to be mentioned is the concept of a literary and artistic system, which was proposed by one of the most prominent representatives of the Russian formal school, Yuri Tenyanov. Tenyanov's innovation consisted in the fact that he was first to suggest to consider a national literature not as a collection of individual works, but as a holistic system that includes all the literary works of a particular historical era. Another idea is connected with stylometry studies. This discipline deals with the measurement of stylistic characteristics in order to organize and systematize texts in their parts. The first experience of a systematic analysis of the style of Russian literature was a stylometric study carried out by Grigory Martinenko on the literary texts by 100 Russian writers who worked at the beginning of the 20th century. In comparison with stylometry, there is a relatively new direction, distant reading. Nowadays, this method is usually opposed to close reading. So, distant reading, unlike to close reading, doesn't mean traditional detailed analysis of some text or its fragments. Finally, the other approach is cultural analytics. It seems appropriate to use it for literary studies as well, even though its application is obviously broader, because through the description of the main topics of literature, we achieve a description of the deeper cultural layers of society. However, thematic modeling, especially of literary texts, inevitably faces some problems regarding data preparation, such as a compilation of the complete list of writers, for example, a conversion of text from the old graphics into the new one. At the next level of the literary resource development, it seems appropriate to complete the biographical data about the writers and text segmentation, and also expert data annotation. The findings regarding the latter would like to demonstrate on the thematic annotation of the subcorpus of Russian short stories. But prior to that, a few words about the corpus itself. By the time of preparing this paper, the total number of stories in digital form reached more than 8,000. The list of Russian prose writers contains information about almost 3,000 persons, and the text for more than 600 writers were specially digitalized for our corpus. There were two kinds of annotation, automated and expert. Both of them were approved on the annotated subcorpus, which includes literary text by 300 writers. The automatic topic modeling allowed to distinguish 24 topics. The expert thematic annotation, on the other hand, consisted from 89 themes, which have been additionally normalized. In this slide, you can see a few examples of tags and expert annotation themes that have been assigned to them. So, for example, by the tag death, there are united such things as natural death, accidental death, execution, etc. We give them here only to illustrate the normalization procedure and will not discuss in detail. Finally, the results of both types of thematic annotation have been compared. As the comparison has shown, automatically extracted themes tend to reveal the background of the stories, where the stories take place. So such expert topics as war, for instance, were found to have better correspondence with automatically determined topics, while such themes as death and relations weren't really covered by A topics. As you can see, though it's been really quick, the first thematic modeling experiments that involved hybrid annotation analysis showed quite promising results. However, as we increase the corpus size and extend the literary data to be modeled on different levels, more technical issues arise. Now I'm going to focus on some of the difficulties. So, despite the fact that we compiled a quite representative list of Russian writers of the beginning of the 20th century, there are still authors published in this period for whom we weren't able to find any data or bibliographical information. It can be said that these authors are totally forgotten. They weren't popular enough at the time they created to be included in the dictionaries of writers and literary encyclopedias and etc. Besides, regarding these famous authors, we cannot be sure that their names are not in fact one of the unknown pseudonyms of another author. In this aspect, the great asset could have been the database of writers' pseudonyms. For the purpose of writing short stories, the verification of the authors' names is being conducted on the basis of the dictionary of pseudonyms. The important information about literary text is the year of its creation, as it allows to set the literary work in the context of the certain period in the life of society. However, this kind of information about the text is not always available. To find the original year or date of the publication of the literary text is a quite serious problem which requires expert investigation. Traditionally, the unit of description is a book. At the same time, books can contain as just one literary work or a number of texts. For example, if we're speaking about a short story collection, even if these books are digitalized, the information system usually doesn't include any additional data about individual texts that contribute to the collection. For this reason, categorization of such texts and their segmentation is required. On the other hand, one text can be published in fragments in different issues of the magazine or newspaper. In that case, it becomes necessary to refer to several library units to access the complete text, which also poses a problem. And another issue is with expert thematic annotation. Though it provides a comprehensive description of text themes, it is a quite intensive procedure in terms of time and labor. It is also quite subjective. The only possible way to reduce this subjectivity is to engage several independent experts into thematic annotation. The first experience of independent expert annotation of fiction texts by 3 independent experts has been recently conducted with the involvement of students studying philology at Higher School of Economics in St. Petersburg. Thus, in this presentation, we have only briefly, due to the time limit, discussed methodological approaches to determining and modeling themes of literary works on a national scale, which you can find described in detail in our article. The proposed methodology has been implemented in the design of the corpus of Russian short stories of the early 20th century. Our next step is to perform automatic topic modeling for the whole collected data and to compare the results with that obtained in the process of the pilot experiment. Thus, we hope to obtain representative data on the distribution of the main topics of Russian literature in the given historical period and Doing so, we can also assess the effectiveness of the expert thematic markup in a training sample for machine learning. However, the success of the assigned tasks largely depends on the methodology of identifying themes in literary texts. From our point of view, for fiction texts, a hybrid topic annotation combining both expert theme attribution and automated topic modeling is the most promising. We may claim that this type of annotation should be used primarily for literary texts as it allows to describe relevant aspects of the plot, features characterizing main characters of literary texts, and etc. Hybrid topic annotation proves to be a significant extension to traditional multi-level annotation schemes accepted in contemporary corpus linguistics. We suggest that the proposed methodology can be successfully used in the development of artificial intelligence systems that process large volumes of literary texts in any language. That's all we managed to say in such a short time. However, we hope that our experience may be useful for the developers of literary sources for other languages as well. The acknowledgements go to the Academic Fund program at Higher School of Economics. And here is some personal information. Feel free to contact us. Thank you very much for your attention. I would be happy to answer your questions.